Making money is one of the driving forces behind Mount and Blade 2 Bannerlord. Not only is it important to equip yourself, recruit soldiers, and hire companions, but it is also crucial towards the late game as you create workshops, caravans, and manage your fiefs. In this video today, I'm going to give you 7 fast and easy tips to make a considerable amount more money from the early to the late game. Now, I've found that no one has problems with money beyond a certain point, but I'm hoping that at least 1 or 2 of these points is something you haven't tried just yet and should hopefully spice up your next playthrough of Mount and Blade 2 Bannerlord with all of the new patches that have been coming out. Let's dive into this list and see how I can help you. First up on our list is tournaments. Now, in the beginning portion of the game, doing tournaments is a great way to make more initial money or at least get a nice variety of gear. Now, in order to do this, you would just go to the arena and you would see this menu pop up if there is a tournament ready to go. It'll tell you prize is a ridged tipped arming sword, which is actually quite nice. But let's say that this doesn't have the ability to join a tournament. You would enter the arena, and once you enter the arena, you would simply talk over here to the tournament master and say, are there any tournaments going on in nearby towns? Well, there's one starting up at Charas, then another over at Jacqueline. So that's a great way to find the tournaments if you don't have any in your immediate starting location of Poros. Now, since it does grant experience because of the most recent patch, you can level up some of your beginning skills to get items that you can sell directly, equip to upgrade some of your current gear, or smelt, which brings me to my next point. Number 2, smelting weapons. And this one is huge. Anytime you kill bandits or looters, which you should be doing en masse to level up your troops, you will get a large amount of armor to sell and also weapons. Now let's go over here to the smithy. You should be smelting down the throwing and melee weapons rather than selling them. Furthermore, buying cheap 2 or 3 tier weapons is a strong move because they cost anywhere from 200 to 400 Denar, but can be smelted down and the raw materials will sell for twice that at minimum. So there's a trick to this though. For one, you want to go to a town with a lot of hardwood and buy it all up. So a good example here, let's actually back out and scroll back. Britannia's got a lot of these locations. So if I were to go over here to let's just say one of these has got a lot of hardwood. I think it's this one. There you go. So if I go to Andern, it's got a ton of hardwood. I can go buy it at a very low amount, get a bunch of hardwood, and then I'm going to use that to make coal. Now, as far as coal goes, I want to have one of my characters be a designated refiner, more or less. Now, this means that he's going to be the individual that's refining this hardwood into coal. Once you get 25 blacksmithing, you then choose the skill that allows you to make 2 pieces of coal for 3 units of hardwood. Now, this all seems pretty elementary, pretty easy here, but from here, you have a smelting buffet across all of your companions. That's right, all of your companions. So if you still have more to smelt, rest for 18 hours and continue to smelt, rinse, and repeat. Now, what I say across all your companions is, let's say, okay, I've got 2 charcoal. We'll refine all this. Got 10 charcoal now. Well, my stamina, if you hover over your portrait down here, it says X out of 100. If I click this portrait, I can now select other characters to smelt for me, including the newly added blacksmith character. So basically, I'm going to use my character, go to smelt, burn through all of his stamina. Well, I'm going to click over here and smelt more. So there you go. You pretty much will just do that, rinse and repeat. Now, once you're done smelting everything, find the city in your local region that is buying ore at a premium and sell it until your price per unit drops significantly, then move on. So we'll jump back here. We would go to trade. We would then organize our miscellaneous by value. So I can see wrought iron here is not trading very well. I would just go to another town and continue to trade until I had wrought iron at a good price. So I'd press this by 1. It's got 77 as the value. Well, it'll keep dropping down significantly. So from 77 all the way down to 32. Not as worthwhile, so I would go somewhere else to sell it. But a word of caution, this is bound to be scaled back in a future patch, as it is currently a disgustingly broken system. Secondly, stockpiling resources can add a massive amount to your inventory capacity. So make sure you don't hoard too many weapons or resources without smelting or selling respectively. Like, take a look at this. I'm at 2,500, drop it down, push me at 2,400, but I have all of these weapons to smelt. So don't get a massive backlog of things. Make sure you're smelting stuff and selling things at an appropriate manner. Number 3 is workshops. This one requires a little more capital to get started, around 13 to 16K to get off the ground, and there's another trick to it. So in order to set up a workshop, you want to go to select Walk Around Town Center at the town you've selected, then walk up to one of the existing shops and offer to buy it. So for example, we're in this town center. If I hold down Alt, I can take a look at all of the things. I can see Olive Press. I can see all these different names. In this case, I'm going over to the brewery. So brewery, Olive Press. There should be about 2 to 3. Pottery shop is the other one. 2 to 3 workshops depending on the city. But you'll come over here. You'll go up to a shop worker. You'll press F. I'd like to buy this workshop. This will bring up a secondary menu after you press yes. And from here, it will allow you to select the trade good the workshop produces. You're probably wondering, which trade resource should you produce? Well, it really depends here. So for a long time, people thought, or I guess initially people thought, that looking at the surrounding villages to an adjoining city and what they produce made the best possible workshop for that town. Wrong. You want to instead go to a town of your choosing and find what resource they are paying top dollar for. Then have that be the resource your workshop produces the most of. 1 or 2 workshops, even after the patch that limits their funds, will wash out the cost of your entire army if done right. A good example would be Zionica over here. Now, Zionica has a high production from 2 adjoining towns of grain. But grain is used to produce beer, and beer is almost always in high demand. Another good example of a bad workshop would be a wood workshop in a location saturated with hard wood, so there's no demand within the city for it. It can be tricky, and sometimes it will actually work out if you just choose the adjoining villages, because the economies of each city will always shift. So if that happens, you bring up your clan menu, and then you're going to go over here to other, and then you're going to select one of your, you can see my tanner is just sucking right now. Then you're going to press change production, and this allows you to change the produced resource, but it does cost you 2,000. So just make sure you keep tabs on this. It's not as passive as caravans, which is going to bring us nicely into our next subject. Number 4, player caravans. Now, there are 2 types of caravans in the game. This one is the manual player-run caravan and isn't geared towards any in-game mechanics outside of having a sharp eye for the economy, a decent trade skill to really monitor your gains and reduce your trade penalty, and the desire to move from town to town. Essentially, you want to take goods from one portion of the map, or up here, whatever, and move them to another. So think of what is rare in some places. Olives, for example, in Sturgia, and then go sell olives in Sturgia, and then buy fish there, moving them to, say, so from Revel down here to Rotai. Even just other cities that are landlocked is a great place to sell fish, but keeping an eye out for what goods are in abundance in some regions and scarce in others is key to running your own little trade empire. Mules and horses and Asarai can be traded to Valandia at a premium as they're in high demand throughout the empire. So Asarai here, up to Valandia up here, and you can definitely tell in my campaign, the Khazad Empire is going hog wild. But be wary. If you are a mercenary or a vassal, you don't want to accidentally run through another war and get ransacked. So just make sure you're taking safe trade routes. On the notion of war, though, grain is in high demand at the front of any battle line. So pressing N, navigating to kingdoms, and seeing who they're at war with and selling grain at the front line is always highly advised. So if I click Khazad here, I scroll to the bottom, I can then see who they're at war with, Southern Empire, Sturgia, and then these NPC factions. Alternatively, if you are in a faction as a vassal or a mercenary, you can press Kingdom to see who your faction is at war with. But hopefully this helps you get your own little player caravan started. Number 5, NPC caravans. The other type of caravan is a NPC caravan. It costs 15,000 to start up, just like a workshop. But the other caveat is that it will also take up one of your companions. With engineering, stewardship, and trading companions finally coming into the game, this is a great task for a trading-centric companion. I just recruited the spice vendor, so she's out trading for me on my campaign. So it does take about a week for the caravan to start making a return, but it can net you anywhere from 200 to 2,000 gold very quickly. And I find it more highly reliable source of income than workshops. The best part is that it's very hands-off. You set it up and go. Workshops you need to monitor every so often to make sure they're producing as demand shift in your towns, so it's kind of tedious. But let's run through real quick how to set up a caravan from the town menu. So you select one of the merchants from the notable list at the top. I prefer someone with high power, so the powerful power ranking right here. Just any possible increase to relations in the future from this is going to benefit me. This means I'll have better troops to recruit from that notable at the location, especially if I own the city and there's a boost to the relation. So you select him, press that to talk. So he's going to charge me 15,000 and then ask me which companion I'd like to set up for the duty here. So press that. I wish to form a caravan in this town. And then he'll say, a caravan you formed will do this for you. You need to pay at least 15,000 to hire 29 caravan guards. You accept these conditions, and then you just choose another one. Like I'll just choose Jinda here, the spice vendor. And she is now setting up a caravan for me, and she'll go and do her thing. As I leave this menu and come back to the front, we're going to hover over really quick this, and it'll tell me now that the olive press... it'll tell me, okay, Caravan of Jinda the Spice Vendor at the very bottom is minus 200. So it's going to cost me to run her caravan guard, but over time, that'll start to give me a massive amount of money. Number 6, fighting other armies. In a game geared heavily towards combat, this should really just come as a no-brainer. But you're going to be following the same rules set out by dealing with all those bandits and looters. Make sure you're smelting all of those weapons down using the same guidelines I illustrated earlier. But if you're a mercenary, after this week's patch, you can also make sure you're aligned with the weaker kingdoms to get a higher daily pension via influence. Also, if you're already high enough on your influence, you can go ahead and sell any nobles to the local taverns for a nice bump in income. You can also do the same thing when you take a look at any of your other generic units. You can just sell them right here, press this button, and boom, you're going to batch sell and get 3,000. As of the creating of this video though, ransoming nobles is not yet implemented outside of an automated system that you have no control over. Otherwise, I would say keep them in your own personal castle and ransom them back to your parent faction or to their parent faction. You can ransom them here through the tavern district, but I'm talking about a different ransom here. The automated system gives you about 1 or 2 extra thousand than you would normally through the tavern here, the ransom broker, but the noble can possibly escape during that time. One last note about fighting other armies. If you're looking for a particular style of armor, then being at war with that nation that has that armor will net you high tiers of it from defeating armies led by their nobles that you can either wear or sell. So for example here, I destroyed a mercenary band of Empire, so I got these lamellar plate gauntlets, and these shoulders. I also did a number of damage to Battanian nobles, and I got this woodland chainmail. So you get a lot of the higher tier armor from killing the nobles of the respective faction that would have that armor. So if you're looking for really cool Sturgian armor, go up to Sturgia, start killing some nobles until you get some, hopefully in a good drop. Lastly, number 7, kingdoms and fiefs. This is more of a late game point, but as you grow in fiefs across castles and cities, you will also grow in the amount of income you will receive from these respective fiefs. That income will be geared heavily towards tax income, and more importantly, you can influence this number from your skills tree with perks from the steward line. Let's take a look at that really quick. I bring up the steward line and we go here, even the very first one, 10% more tax from villages. And then as you scroll through and look at some of these other ones, there's like a 30%, yeah, here, 50% more tax income from mines. And you get this one right here, 10% tax from villages. So your steward can really affect these. In addition to that, you can also influence this using your actual influence if you are a vassal to help enact policies that thusly increase the amount of taxes being produced by your fiefs. Now, just take a look at this over here. If I hover over the little coin down here, I can see that the taxes from my city, the taxes from everything that I'm getting right now, total about 1,600. So you get quite a bit from the actual taxes of all of your nations and all of your fiefs. So while this is a late game one, I'd be remiss if I didn't include it on this list as a way to at least make money, since it is so crucially important to the late game, because you're going to be getting so many of these cities and castles. But a final thought here before we close our video out is make sure, and I've said this before in the city management video, but make sure you clear out bandit camps and bandits from your territories every so often as they attack villagers, which are going to sell goods, like this guy right here. If I didn't clear out this area, then looters, mountain bandits, sea raiders, everything could attack this guy. And if they do that, these guys are transporting physical goods to the location. And those physical goods will help increase your workshop's output if it's based on local stocks, and the tradable resources for your caravans, as well as the actual income you're receiving from your cities. So making sure that you kind of take a look around here and make sure you're clearing everything out is pretty crucial to maintaining income across almost all of these points. Because if you're killing looters, you're going to get weapons to smelt down, and it's going to increase your workshops, your caravans, your fiefs, and their individual tax and production as a whole. But I hope this video helped you out here, guys, in just some really quick down and dirty ways to get a lot more money in the game. Like I've said, most people tell me that by the time that they actually get to even a quarter way through the game, they're just rolling in absurd amounts of money. So don't really feel like you have to do all these or you won't make money. You could just do one of the things on this list and make a ton of money. In my primary Valandia campaign, I only smelt down weapons. I just now started setting up caravans and workshops, and I'm still at 60 or 70k constantly because I'm just getting in so many conflicts. So don't feel like you have to painstakingly go through this list to make money. You're going to make quite a bit as long as you just play the game, have fun, and enjoy your playthrough. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. Let me know in the comment section below if some things do change with patches, so you do have to take some of this with a grain of salt. Some stuff is going to be balanced as we get closer to the full launch of this game, but a lot of these tips should be relatively timeless. But I'd love to know any other tips you have for making money through your playthroughs of Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord. As always, guys, though, thank you so much for watching. Have a good one. Don't forget to like, subscribe, all that kind of action, and take care.